It's rare for a movie to receive so much hate from audiences even before its release, but that's exactly what's happening with Disney's live-action Snow White. Just from the initial character reveals, the new Snow White has already attracted a huge number of anti-fans. The only chance for director Mark Webb's brainchild to turn things around is to tell a truly captivating story. Because whether or not it differs from the grim fairy tale, the most important thing about the movie is still the quality of its content. However, after leaving the theater feeling almost the exact opposite of the young audience members, I suddenly thought of another question. Should Snow White be judged more leniently just because it's a work made for children? If the answer is yes, then parents can feel completely at ease taking their children to the theater. Because Snow White 2025 seems to be made so that families can spend time together without even needing to pay much attention to what's happening on the screen. With a massive budget of $240 million, the film features visuals that are friendly and filled with cute animals. There are 7 witty dwarfs and catchy tunes, especially the song, Waiting on a Wish. Messages about courage, kindness, compassion, and chivalry are also stated directly in the dialogue, making it impossible for kids to misunderstand. I actually saw young audience members pointing, laughing, and sometimes even turning to ask their parents whether Snow White would wake up or not. So, we can temporarily conclude that Snow White has managed to capture the interest of its intended audience. On the other hand, saying that it's for children shouldn't be used as an excuse. And considering that movies like The Lion King, Toy Story, Kung Fu Panda, or Spirited Away are still high quality no matter who they're made for, it's clear that Snow White has a lot of issues. So what are they? Let's find out in the rest of the video. This is the live-action adaptation of the famous 1937 film of the same name. Although quite a few scenes are taken directly from the animated version, the 2025 production chooses a completely different direction for its development. This isn't just about changing the meaning of the name Snow White to match the appearance of actress Rachel Zegler. It's also about Disney's ambition to turn their once meek character into someone strong and resilient. The story still revolves around a princess whose evil stepmother is jealous of her extraordinary beauty. However, this time, the confrontation between her and the queen isn't just about appearances. They've gone so far as to rewrite the queen as someone greedy for material wealth, hoarding riches, and causing the people to suffer. From here, Snow White has to shoulder a much greater responsibility, worrying about the safety and well-being of her homeland. She doesn't just run into the forest and hide out with the 7 dwarfs, she also has to find a way to free the people from her stepmother's exploitation. As revealed in the trailer, Prince Charming has also been unexpectedly transformed into a handsome thief, all so that he can have a more complex adventure than just getting off his horse and kissing the princess. Of course, change isn't necessarily a bad thing, and even Disney's own legendary animated films have broken the rules more than once. However, blowing up conflicts into grand themes still can't hide the very simple fact that the characters delivering those messages lack depth. We have a queen played by Gal Gadot whose character is developed with many traits, including a deep dive into why she is obsessed with beauty and wealth. More than once in the film, she talks about how flowers may bloom and wither, but diamonds shine forever. It's highly likely that this idea was inspired by the song, Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, performed by Marilyn Monroe in the 1953 film Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. The lyrics of the song are used to satirize a materialistic lifestyle. Trying to do the same thing, Gal Gadot's character frequently flaunts sparkling jewelry in front of the camera, implying that she is someone who only cares about outward appearances. Unfortunately, the superficial delivery only scratches the surface, and at times it even becomes tiring when the character keeps repeating the same lines, as if afraid the audience won't catch the metaphor behind them. And in the end, the supposedly humanistic message still comes down to Snow White being the most beautiful, not just because of her looks, but also because she has a kind heart. I think anyone who has ever read the grim fairy tale or watched the animated version already understands this, and this supposedly modern edition, if you think about it, isn't really new at all. Sharing the same fate, the handsome thief Jonathan, who was supposed to be a breakthrough character in the film, also leaves no lasting impression. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that he's basically copied straight from the character Flynn Rider in the 2010 movie Tangled. He starts out as a disillusioned outlaw on the run, then returns with the princess to save the kingdom. His character is even more shallowly developed than the queen, with his motivations, personality, and the way he falls for Snow White all being pretty inconsistent. This guy just wanders around the forest, claiming he's fighting for a cause, only to immediately do the opposite right after. Clearly, having a complicated background, a simple nature, and significantly more screen time gives Jonathan a huge advantage over the original prince. Yet, this romance still feels rushed. On top of that, the romantic scenes feel forced and formulaic. In the end, with such weak supporting characters around her, the one most affected is definitely Snow White. Caught between too many intertwining storylines, our princess is completely lost. To preserve the spirit of the original, Snow White still has to follow the same old path, running away from the huntsman into the forest. Her beauty and singing voice captivate the animals. They show her the wooden cottage where the dwarfs live so she can take shelter there. However, instead of spending most of the rest of the movie living with the miners, she has to quickly move over to the storyline with Jonathan, taking on a strong personality to show that she is someone who dares to fight and doesn't rely on others. After hastily exchanging a few words of affection with Jonathan, Snow White quickly goes back to face the queen, just in time to take a bite of the poisoned apple, staying true to the original story. Just like that, the whole movie feels like it's tying several horses and making them run in different directions, breaking it up into pieces that don't fit together. There's a rather funny detail. Snow White is given a bracelet engraved with 4 virtues: resilience, honesty, courage, and justice. Watching it, I got the feeling that she was trying to meet KPIs by collecting all those virtues just to be a worthy role model for young viewers. This makes the character of Snow White feel stiff and lacking in humanity. It's hard to blame actress Rachel Zegler for this patchwork, because if you've seen Spielberg's West Side Story, you know just how talented she is. If there's anything to blame, it's a script that wasn't carefully crafted, combined with preachy, didactic lines. In fact, this is an issue that has plagued all live-action adaptations, from The Lion King and The Little Mermaid to Mulan. It often feels like, with the same line of dialogue, the animated version always delivers it with more emotion. But when it's transferred to a live-action scene, some of that innocence is lost. Maybe there are things that can only be fully effective through 2D animation. Perhaps this really depends on each viewer's perspective. In conclusion, not a single Disney live-action adaptation has managed to surpass the legacy of its predecessor, and unfortunately, Snow White couldn't become an exception either. What's more, Disney is increasingly revealing that they're exploiting trendy messages like feminism and equality to promote their poorly crafted works. As mentioned above, the so-called innovations that Disney promises for characters like Snow White and the Evil Queen are really just rehashes of old tropes. Not to mention, their superficial approach to social issues actually backfires, causing viewers to lose faith in messages of equality that were originally well-intentioned. Personally, I still believe that adaptation, change, and innovation have never been a bad thing. And film history has seen plenty of great movies that are completely different from their predecessors. Therefore, my disappointment comes entirely from the regret I feel for a studio that once created outstanding stories, but now chooses to hide its decline behind excuses and attempts to manipulate public opinion. At this point, we no longer see any trace of greatness from the biggest studio in Hollywood. And with the constant announcements of new live-action adaptations, it's unclear how many more controversies will arise in the future. And those are all our thoughts on Snow White. It falls short in many aspects, most notably in how the characters lack the depth to match the messages they're meant to convey. Snow White will probably continue to be a forgettable project and a prime example of the current state of modern cinema, where timeless icons are rehashed just to get audiences to pay for a sense of nostalgia. Personally, I'm not worried that viewers won't see what Disney is doing, but perhaps the worst-case scenario is that the studio simply doesn't care to listen. That's the end of the video. If you agree or disagree, please leave a comment so we can discuss it together. For now, goodbye and see you next time.
May the Force be with you.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Play as time goes by. Have a view, baby.